Too far under the plane, too far over the plane. You can fix both. This is the perfect drill to help you swing on plane. But what does that mean? We're going to talk about that and how you can fix it in this video today. Hey everyone, so we've all heard the terms swing on plane. I swing too far under the plane. I swing too far over the plane. Well, what does that really mean? So today we're going to talk about what does it mean to swing the club on plane, and if you're somebody who comes too far over the top or too far underneath, what can you do to help you fix that? So if you're someone who swings over the top, right? So you're coming over top of the swing plane, and we'll talk about what that means. You're going to be somebody who has to open the club face, otherwise you're going to hit pulls. So your misses are going to be pulls and cuts or slices, which is a lot of golfers. Now, if you're someone who swings too far under the plane, you're probably going to be someone who hits more blocks and hooks as you have to then flip your hands to try to get that golf ball back online. So both can be very detrimental to playing good golf. And we want to swing in what I like to call more of like a neutral swing plane or an on plane swing. Now, what does it mean to swing on plane? So, first of all, we need to define our target line. On the simulator here, I have a nice white line that connects my target all the way back to my golf ball. And I've laid down a little alignment aid here on the ground that you can see to just kind of help me visualize. Well, here's how I define an on-plane swing in all of my lessons is the golf club always has a direct relationship to the target line. Okay, so let's talk about that. So pretty simple. When I get set up, if I had a laser coming out of the bottom of this club and a laser coming out of the top of this club, the laser out of the bottom of this club would be pointing at my target line. Okay. And then as we look at it, this from a swing video analysis, I would draw a line through the heel of the golf club, up the shaft, through the body. And we want to see the club work back right up on that line. Now, what we notice from the target line's perspective is as I take the club back, that laser pointer that would be coming out of the bottom of the club is pointing at my target line the entire takeaway. If I start to work that laser pointer outside the target line, I am taking it back over the plane. If I start to bring that laser inside, I'm bringing it back under the plane. So I'm going to use that target line as a visual to help me trace my takeaway into a good position here. And we all see this position. I want my face slightly angled down, matching spine, club head on hands from the video. Now, I am not pointing at the target line any longer, but my club is parallel to the target line. If I've brought in the club head inside, it's under the plane or inside. Outside, of course, would be over the plane or outside. Now, as I go to set the club from here, the bottom of my club now is the grip, and the laser that would be coming out of the grip of the club could then trace that target line all the way to the top until I get to parallel once again to target line at the top of the swing. I would then want to trace that target line all the way down until I get to parallel. Then right away, that club head now, the bottom laser is pointing at that target line, and it would trace the target line all the way through impact until I start to release that club up into finish. So that is an on-plane swing. Okay. Now, a lot of golfers that I see tend to get under the plane and then they want to get over the plane coming back down because the club needs to get back out in front of us. So we could work our swing in a little bit of opposites if we're trying to change. So if I'm somebody who comes over the top, I can feel that I stay on plane going back really well, but then potentially get the club a little bit more vertical, feeling like this is pointing inside the swing plane to the top, which may assist me pointing it at that target line coming down, or even flattening and shallowing it a little bit more so that I can come more from the inside. Now, what we'll see, I'm going to hit a shot here, and I'm going to come a little bit steeper going back, which will probably put me a little bit across the line at the top. That will help me shallow and come down. But I would expect on this numbers, we're going to see this golf ball launch out to the right a little bit and probably have a club path that's more on the side of into out things. So I'm going to trace that target line going back, get a little bit steeper and across the line into the top, which will then help me get under the plane coming down. And let's see what happens here. So I really felt there like I have to release my hands a little bit more than I'd like to bring that ball back to my target. And we can see here with the data, well, I had a club path that's 8.8 into out. Gosh, that's probably too much, right? So there's a good indication or example of someone who probably hits blocks. And then if I flipped my hands earlier, maybe some hooks. We can see that I launched that golf ball 6.6 degrees out to the right of my target. And my spin axis was 5.8 to the left. So that ball was curving left, which tells me I did close the club face, but the ball finished quite a bit out to the right. So we know I didn't kind of release that club face enough. And that's where timing can get involved in our swing. Is if I'm always hitting it way out to the right or pulling it to the left, I have to time my club face angle, which is very difficult to do to get the golf ball online. But if I'm somebody who hits slices, that might be a good type of swing to practice to get me away from my tendency, which is the opposite. Okay. So now let's hit a shot and let's try to do the opposite. So we're going to feel more like we get a little bit under the plane and inside going back, right? Which is going to probably get us a little bit steep and over the plane coming down. And let's see how that affects it. And I will consciously manage club face to try to curve this golf ball a little bit back to the right. So under the plane, over the plane. So I see that a lot in lessons, and at the end of the day, that's probably a decently functional shot. But we're going to notice that the path now is 7.3 out to in. So that club was coming from outside to inside. That ball launched 5.6 degrees left of target line. Okay. And that had a spin axis of 6.2 to the right. All right. So we know that I was able to open that club face. But typically, when I get that club working inside, anyways, I tend to open the club face as I'm rolling those forearms. Right. If I'm outside, I tend to maybe keep that club face a little bit more closed as I'm rotating it closed. Okay. So, what should I be if I'm able to look at data? It depends on the shot I want to hit, really, right? So let's assuming everybody aims pretty neutral and square. If I am somebody who wants to hit a draw, I want to be into out. Okay. Excessively into out is probably going to create some blocks and some hooks. So let's call it like depending on the skill level, like 2 to 5 into out would probably be manageable. 2 to 4 would be even better. Okay. If I'm somebody who wants to hit a fade, I'd be looking for the opposite of that, 2 to 5 or even 2 to 4, more out to in. But when I'm practicing, if I put down a visual to help me here, I can really manage my swing plane and feel what's different about how I'm delivering that golf club. So let's hit another one here, and I'm going to try to be on plane and trace that target line all the way back and through. Now, that's what I try to be is me, I'm not too concerned if I'm out to in or into out. I like to stay pretty neutral because at the end of the day, I want to hit the ball relatively straight. The more I'm swinging from either side, into out or out to in, the more curve I'm going to require on my shots to get the golf ball to end at my target. So I like to curve my ball very little. I like to be neutral. So when I'm practicing, I try to be kind of within 3 degrees of zero either way, or even 2 degrees if I'm trying to get things a little bit tighter either way, just so I'm really close to on plane all of the time. And that way I can manage club face as such. Okay, so now we're just going to try to swing on plane, but we can use that alignment stick to rehearse going back, rehearse to the top, rehearse coming down, creating those feelings, and just asking ourselves, okay, what am I doing? to make that happen. So I feel like my hands are staying inwards, my club's a little bit outwards, is just pointing at that target line. I definitely feel compared to my old motion, I'm a little bit steeper going back, even though I'm not relative to the plane, but I feel that way. And then coming down, I feel like I kind of pull that right arm a little bit more in front of me to help me get on plane coming down. So let's hit one here and see if we can get it a little bit more on the plane. We're looking for closer to perfection here and see what kind of shot that creates. So I'm curious to see what that says from data. We can see that shot went a little bit out to the right, but was that a swing plane and path or was that a face? So my path was 1.8 into out. I'd be very happy with that. If it's within my two, it's a really good shot. Now my spin axis was 2.4 to the right. So I didn't do the best job there having a square club face coming down. It was more just the club face that was open, which I'll talk about in a different video. But from the swing plane perspective and how that can manage my club path, that was really good. Okay, I'm going to try another one, see if we can be similar with our swing plane, but I'm going to try to match that club face up a little bit better so that I can actually hit that golf ball a little bit more on my intended target line. So just tracing that, I rehearsed it, got my feel. Let's hit one. So I did a lot better job with my club face there. We'll see what those path numbers and that club numbers say, but that finished a lot straighter, more on the line. And then as we go to look at the results of that shot, my path was actually a little bit more into out, okay, at 3 degrees. I'm okay with that. My spin axis was 0.6 left. So I like that shot for me. I did a better job controlling the face, which was more my intention. The ball curved very, very little to the left. And we can see my ball launched a lot straighter at 1.6 right of target line. So now for me, I feel like the tighter I am to that zero, right, the tighter my dispersion can be. And then I can just think about my hands and controlling club face because I've been practicing swinging more on plane. Now, what are the drills that we can kind of work on to help us with that? So, very simply here, I just need an alignment stick and something to hold my alignment stick. If you're outside on the grass, we can just stick it right into the grass, right? If we're inside, we can use a range basket. I use a ball bag here, and I just kind of wedge it in here using the zippers and some stuff that's inside to kind of keep it weighted. So if I'm somebody that is a little bit more prone to get over the plane, okay, I want to place this alignment stick an angle that's very similar to the lie angle of the club that I'm using. So you see when I get set up here with my 7-iron, the angle of this is very similar to the angle of my shaft at address. And it's sitting just slightly outside the target line, about a club head width outside the target line. And it is about 2 feet behind my golf ball starting position, okay? Now, what I need to feel if I'm somebody that typically comes over the top is I need to feel like I stay close to that stick going back and I just avoid it by coming underneath it on the downswing. And that will ensure that I get a club path that's a little bit more into out. And then we can work on managing club face. So stay close to it going back, underneath it coming down. So we'll see some good results in that. Really good drill to start hitting some draws. Hit that one pretty solid as well. And then we get a club path that's 6.7 into out. I launched that golf ball 4.3 out to the right, and I managed my club face well enough to actually get that ball curving back to the left at 3.8 to the left. Okay. Now, if I'm somebody who's more kind of on the standpoint of I get a little bit more under the swing plane, well, I can just take this same drill, right? And I can place it on the other side of where I want to be here. Okay. So get that zipper set up there. Now, when I'm using this bag, I probably can't get it as close as I'd want to. So I might want to get a different object. If I'm using a range basket, be same scenario. In the grass, I can get it a lot closer. Now, I said about a club head width, but feel free to give yourself a little bit of space, right? So maybe start with 2 or 3 club head widths outside. Maybe start with 2, 3, or even a foot inside. Use it as a visual and get better at it as you go. So I got something a little smaller here. I just got a box. Okay, so I'm going to use that box instead of the bags because it's a little bit smaller, gives me a little bit more space. I can get it a little bit closer. Now, same idea. As this ball's on my target line, I want to keep this relatively similar, okay, to my shaft angle. It's not perfect using this box, but it's pretty close, okay? So because it's a little steeper, I might give myself a touch more room. And I want to feel like I'm pretty close to it going back, but I'm avoiding it on the outside coming down, and see if that can change our path of our golf club and help us swing for you if you're a blocker and someone who blocks it and hooks it a little more left for me as a right-handed golfer on the way through. So close to it going back, avoiding it over top coming down. So I hit a nice little fade there. Didn't quite hit it as solid, but we're going to see some very different numbers in our swing. As now my club path was 3 degrees out to in. I managed face to make that golf ball curve right. That golf ball actually launched a little bit left. So what is an on-plane swing? It's just keeping a direct relationship club to target line. And there's some drills to help you if you're somebody who's either too much over the plane or too much under the plane, and help you hit better golf shots. Thanks for watching. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more instructional content.